Hello, welcome to Kama AI's Designed Experiential Intelligence, otherwise known as Kama Day. Today we're going to be demonstrating how to set up a simple FAQ for your conversational AI. To begin, let's take a look at the conversational AI front end that we have here on our website's main page. If you look at the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, you can see that little icon where we can open up our chatbot and start our new conversation. Now here we're greeted by Katie, our automated agent, and we're asked to provide an email address to start our conversation. So let's go ahead and put that in. And we can begin by asking what our question is. So we can do a variety of different things, like ask, what's your name? And here she introduces herself as Katie and gives a little bit of background about herself. We could also type in something like, are you real? Or perhaps, what are Kama Day values? Now, what is graph conversational AI? Now notice here that we actually don't get a response like the other three questions. Instead, we are given a message saying that we don't detect any issues that they can help us with. This means that we need to input a new FAQ into our system. And to do this, we will navigate to the Kama Day admin system. The admin system is the background interface which we can access the knowledge graphs and customizations for your conversational AI through. And here we are on the admin panel for our conversational AI. First thing we need to do is check our terms. If you go to the left-hand side, you'll see under Knowledge Base, there is a tab that says Terms. And if we click that, we can see all of the terms available to our enterprise. Of course, we are looking for graph conversational AI. So let's type in graph. And already we can see I haven't even finished typing the sentence, but there's no term titled graph conversational AI. So since we can't find this item, we need to add it to our knowledge base. So let's add item and title it graph conversational AI and click add item. And now we can see it popped up here and ready to be used. We may also want to create some synonyms of this word. This will aid the natural language understanding, or NLU, in catching synonyms that would warrant the same responses. So let's go ahead and add some. So we might want to have something like graph. And we can double check here in our terms to see if graph is anywhere there. And as we can see, it's not. So we can go ahead and add in graph. Perhaps also knowledge base, which I don't see either. So let's go ahead and add in knowledge base. And we're also just going to add knowledge base like so. So that's covered a fair bit of our bases when it comes to synonyms. Now understand here we are taking advantage of something we like to call the lowest common denominator. And what this means is that if we use synonyms like graph or knowledge, we don't have to add things like knowledge graph or knowledge base or knowledge network, because these terms will be picked up through the NLU system. Now that we have our terms together, we need an actual problem and solution to use them in. So let's put those synonyms to the side and focus on that main new term, graph conversational AI. To do this, we have to navigate to our knowledge records tab, which is also on the left side, if you can see the third option here. And clicking here, we have all sorts of different knowledge records. This is where we can define the relationships between different terms. So let's begin with our problem. First, as a best practice, we always want to double check that there is no existing knowledge records that we might be overriding. And here there's nothing with graph conversational AI attached to it, so we can go ahead and add item. Now there are three components to the knowledge record, or KR. the left term, the right term, and in the middle is the relation type, which is essentially the linking piece that determines in which way these two terms are linked. The best practice is always to have the right term be the key term or main subject, while the left term is what we're linking it to. So for example, the right term in this case would be graph conversational AI. So let's build that problem. Let's start with that left term and search for person. And here we can add person. We'll click our relation type, and to create a problem, we want to have a request for information. So we can search for can request information on, and our right term, which, as I mentioned before, will be graph conversational AI. And there it is. And now we have our problem KR, person can request information on graph conversational AI. Notice the language used in this KR is very simple and easy to understand. Whenever a problem or solution KR is presented, this will be shown to the end user, making it easy to understand what they're choosing to ask about. But also, this is the language shown throughout the knowledge base in the admin system, meaning creating and managing these KRs is straightforward for the knowledge managers assigned to it as well. No code or complicated jargon. Now we can go ahead and add that item, and here it's popped up for us. Now that we have our problem, we need a solution to pair it with. So let's go ahead and add item. And here, instead of person, we're going to click I, and I is referring to the conversational AI. And then we can look for have information on. And in our right-hand term, we are going to put conversational AI. And now we have our solution KR. I have information on graph conversational AI. And again, we can add this in, and we see it here now. I have information on graph conversational AI, and person can request information on graph conversational AI. Now that we have the knowledge records prepped, we can start adding some extended data to the solution. Now, extended data is the text, links, multimedia, etc. that we want to present additionally to the end user. In this case, it would be the actual answer to the question, what is graph conversational AI? So if we were to navigate to the extended data page, we would just look to the bottom of our knowledge base where we see extended data. And here we're given a bunch of different options. We're going to go ahead and add in an item, and we're going to call it graph conversational AI. And we can also include an extended data type. We'll go down here and we'll put product information. And then we can go ahead and add item. Now note, this will not conflict with the term of the same name because they're separate pieces of information in different areas of Camiday. While one's a term, this here is an extended data type. Now, to be clear, there are actually two parts of the extended data, the data element itself and the value or information that is to be conveyed to the user. These values can be a variety of different types of information, but typically we see textual chat information or links to external pages, electronic documents, etc. So to access this value, we need to go to this Smart Menu pull-down and click Value. Now here we can add our definition for graph conversational AI. And there we go. We've added in our definition, and we can go ahead and save item. And here, graph conversational AI is now updated with that value information. Now that we have this extended data record, we need to link it to our solution KR so that when the solution is presented, our new answer will appear for the end user. To do so, we have to navigate back to our knowledge records and locate that solution KR. We can do this by typing in graph conversational AI again, and here are all our options. I have information on graph conversational AI is our solution. So again, we'll go to this Smart Menu pull down and select Extended Data Link. Now this will bring us to the Extended Data Link section. And when we add item, you'll notice that on the left-hand side, I have information on graph conversational AI has already been pre-populated, meaning all we have to do is add the extended data record to the right-hand side. So if we click here and search for graph conversational AI once more, you can select that and click Add Item. And there you go. We have a extended data linked. And if we were to go back to our knowledge records and search for that solution once more, you can see there's a check mark now under extended data link, letting us know that there is some sort of extended data linked to this knowledge record. Now, though we have an answer, the solution and problem KRs are not actually linked together yet, meaning we need some additional logic to associate them and also to give some solutions more priority than other solutions. This is what makes Kamaday so unique. We use human values as an emotional criteria to build human context into our problem-solving approach. Now let's explore that. So we're going to go down to this personality manager and find personality knowledge rating. Here, under our personas, we can select a persona associated with our chatbot. And a persona is just an archetype of a type of customer or user in our given target audience. So let's go ahead and go to our enterprise marketer persona. And here we're able to see all the different knowledge records that are inputted and have different value ratings for this persona. Now there are two main criteria for FAQs to match together. First, there must be some language link between the problem and the solution. In our case, we're focusing on a simple match of the right-hand term by using Graph Conversational AI as a language link. Secondly, we need to have a net positive difference in our personality ratings. Now, what does this mean? Well, let's look at adding this knowledge records here. So when we go to add our knowledge record, we can search for that Graph Conversational AI again. Let's start with our problem. We're going to click Person can request information on Graph Conversational AI and say Add and Rate. Now here we're given a list of different values that we can add to this problem KR. So different values that we could associate with this problem could be knowledge, for example. Now typically problem KRs are going to be having negative values, while solution KRs will have positive values. This is where that net positive value really comes into play. So let's set our knowledge as -2. We'll go ahead and add that in. Perhaps we're also looking for service. So we'll go ahead and do -3. And we're also talking about innovation. And that one will be a -4 as our most important value. And we can go ahead and add an exit. Now we can see these 3 different values are here, and we can even adjust it within this menu as well. Now let's go ahead and add our solution KR this time. So add and rate once more, and we're going to put in those same values now, except we're going to do positive values. Now note, the values don't actually have to be exactly the same, negative and positive. Though we had knowledge at a 2 last time, we could actually put it as a +3. Similarly with service, which was once a -3, could now be a +2. And innovation, we'll say is maybe a 5. Now adding this all in, we can see the difference between both of the values. Now note, though the values' exact numbers are different, we actually don't need to have entirely the same values in our problem and our solution, nor do we need the exact same ratings, negative or positive. All we need is a net positive difference, enough to allow our conversational AI to make the conclusion that this solution can solve the problem that we are faced with. Now, with these personality ratings, we have actually successfully updated our conversational AI in real time, meaning the second that I've connected these terms, the FAQ has already been live. So let's go check it out in our main page. Now back at our main page, we can go ahead and start a new conversation. We'll do the exact same thing we did last time where we add in our email. And this time when I ask, what is Graph Conversational AI, we are actually presented with the definition that we had inputted in our admin system. And we can see that this utterance now works. However, what if the person doesn't say exactly as we've planned in that right-hand term? For example, what if I just say, tell me about graph? Well, again, we're actually coming to an issue here where our conversational AI does not know what graph is. And you might be wondering, well, we did create those synonym terms, but we never actually linked them to our main key term, graph conversational AI. So we can actually go back to our admin system and add that in. Now back in our knowledge records, we can go ahead and add a synonym KR, which will link our different synonyms to our key term graph conversational AI. So if we go ahead and add item here, we're going to search for our synonyms, first graph, and look for can be synonym to graph conversational AI. And there we go, we have our first synonym. And now we just rinse and repeat with those other two synonyms we've added. And there we have it. All three synonyms have now been linked to graph conversational AI. Now the user doesn't have to only type in graph conversational AI, as any of those other synonyms we've added will flag the same response. And note, synonyms do not need to be added to the persona or rated. They only need to be added to the knowledge base to support the natural language understanding of the user's input. Now anything linked to graph conversational AI will also fall back onto those synonyms. So now that we're back on the main web page, let's go ahead and test that out. And if we were to say, tell me about graph, and there you go. Our definition now appears even if we're not saying graph conversational AI exactly. As I mentioned, all of that happened in real time. We were adding to our knowledge base and updating it as the live chatbot was still running. To pair with that, we can also monitor our conversational AI through our dashboard to keep an eye on our chat performance, durations, and the most important, our failed utterance reports. So if we scroll down past the performance and the chat duration, we can see FAQ performance here. And we can see that 25% was I don't know answers. So let's go ahead and see that list. And here we see two of these here that we've actually done today. What is graph conversational AI? And tell me about graph. We can use this failed utterance report to monitor what questions are being answered and what aren't. This way, your knowledge managers can constantly be updated on the performance in real time and can update your knowledge base based on the actual questions being asked by your customers. Now, this entire process requires no code, it's very straightforward to set up, and as we've seen, can be updated in real time to keep up with the continually growing demands of consumers. This FAQ demonstration was only the most basic use for the Kamaday system. We have a variety of other valuable capabilities such as logically linked solutions, chat skills, third-party interfaces like Facebook Messenger or smart speakers, and live agent handoff. If you're interested in any of these features or want to learn more about our technology in general, please email inquiries@kama.ai or visit our contact page at kama.ai and request a demo today.